welcome to TV Plus Talk. Yeah, we're still called TV Plus Talk. We decided last time out that what if Apple can change the name, we're going to stick to it. I'm Charlotte Henry. He's Chuck Joyner. Hello, Chuck.
Hello, Charlotte. Great to see you as always. And yes, it's one of those things you just don't change your identity just because somebody else changes theirs. So I think we're fine.
No, we're quite right. We're staying true to ourselves. I agree with you absolutely. It's a funny one, this, because I was going to start by saying, I'm not sure, there's always interesting stuff to say in the world of Apple TV, but there's not been a huge dramatic week as we've had other times. But actually, then I look at the show plan and we've still got loads to dig into. So before we crack on that, I want to talk about, this is related, but indulge me, please. AirPods Pro 3.
Okay.
They are without doubt the best audio product Apple has ever produced. I think they might be one of the best accessories, full stop, Apple's produced. They're just a fantastic piece of kit. The upgrade, I mentioned this before when I first got them, that I went from 1 to 3. So the upgrade was very noticeable. But I've had them a few weeks now, and they're just a fantastic piece of kit. The audio quality has been a huge improvement. The interaction, I'm not going to say the name, but with the S Lady is great. The way you can control audio on them is great. And the way, the speed of which they connect to things, whether that's your Apple TV or your iPhone when you want to watch something or whatever, they seem to have got that really slick, and I've just been really impressed. You're on the 2s, aren't you, still?
I am still on the 2s, but it's funny that you wanted to talk about this because I had some business travel last week, and I made a conscious decision not to bother with my my Bose Quiet Comfort over the years. I thought I'm going to try my 2s because I mean we both know the 2s have been really great with the noise cancellation and see if I was disappointed in it, especially on the plane flights. And I hate to say it, I did not miss my Quiet Comforts. And everybody, you included, and you're far from the first one to say it, has said how much better the 3s are, both from the noise cancellation and just the quality. So I think I'm in the market for an upgrade.
I've spent Chuck's money.
Yeah, well,
my former colleagues at the Mac Observer used to do this to me. Yeah, I think I'm getting the bill for that. But it's really interesting. It's a typical Apple thing, isn't it? To go make quite a good entry-level product, the first gen, noticeable better the second version, and then again it keeps improving. That's a very Apple way of doing things. And that might sound silly because people would be like, yeah, but every company improves each generation of their products. But it's very Apple, the level of the improvement, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, again, this is one of those things that I don't do that often. But I was wearing my AirPods out in public, and there were certain times that I would prefer to hear what's going on around me, and other times I prefer to just, put the noise cancellation on. So I was toggling transparency mode on and off a lot more than I usually do. And once again, it just struck me as, how easy it is to say, hey, S Lady, turn on transparency mode or turn it off. And what an incredible difference it made, because I went into isolation, it was great. But when I needed to hear what was going on around me, traffic and, that kind of thing, but I still was able to listen to what I wanted to listen to. So yeah, and I realize I'm talking about the 2s. And so the 3s have all the other capabilities. I was sorry I hadn't upgraded, especially after some of these experiences. I won't make that mistake again. I'm going to be getting the 3s very soon.
I mean, the kind of experience you're talking about is one I relate to a lot, because I don't drive. I use Ubers the whole time. And as lovely as my Uber drivers often are, I tend to like to listen to something, some music or a podcast, something in the back of a cab. But you don't want to be rude and not be able to talk. You don't want to, for your own safety, not want to be able to hear. And so transparency mode is one thing. On the 3s, you also have adaptive mode, which is when the AirPods pick up, a conversation, it kills the noise cancellation. And you therefore can have the conversation. As soon as it recognizes the conversation is off, has ended, you go back to being have noise cancellation on. So all those things are brilliant. And just to bring it back to Apple TV, which is ostensibly what we're here to talk about, it makes watching shows on your phone on the go, just a much more pleasant experience. And so I look forward to our affiliate fees for the AirPods Pro, please, which now I think we've advertised them sufficiently. But it's one of my favorite Apple products I've ever got my hands on.
Yeah, and Charlotte, let me go back to my plane flights, because again, without my quiet comforts, I was listening to, and I usually don't use my phone. I use my my iPad to watch something on plane flights, and same thing. It's like I've got this wonderful audio experience. I'm not hearing the drone of the engines. I'm not hearing the baby crying in back of me, or the kids that yelling in back of me that are kicking my seat. If Apple could just get the kids out from kicking my seat, it would be a top-notch experience.
Don't get me started on my theory that there should be adult-only planes and planes where families are allowed. Don't get me started on this, because we'll be here a while.
If you run for office on that platform, you will win.
I know. I should do it. I feel the same about the Tube Network here in the UK. Anyway, let me get distracted by this. The morning show. Where are you up to? I've watched the first 4 episodes, so I'm up to episode 5. Where are you up to?
I believe I'm up to episode 6, so I'm one ahead of you.
Okay, so so you've watched episode 5,
right?
I have to say, it's getting better with every episode so far.
I agree.
I'm enjoying it.
I absolutely agree. The storylines are engaging, and they seem to be developing, and they're with maybe with a little disrespect, from one of the prior seasons. The storylines aren't taking silly turns or just completely unrealistic turns. They're developing like you feel like they could or should.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I really like, this is not particularly a spoiler, I like the way they've integrated older characters back into the show.
And even making reference to older characters that are no longer there at all. Sure.
So I really like all of that.
And I'm trying to do what you're doing, Charlotte. I'm trying not to do spoilers, but just, there are people that are no longer around as part of the cast, and yet it's not one of those typical TV things that, well, since they're not here anymore, we just forgot they ever existed.
Yes, quite. No, I think they've done all of that very nicely. The other thing I like about it is it does sort of flow. It's a bit melodramatic, let's be honest. But that's always the nature of the beast. I like how they reference real news events as well. They've always done that, and they do that quite well in at least one of the last episode I watched. So I like all of that. I return to a point I've made previously, and you know how much it pains me to say this, Chuck. The problem remains Jennifer Aniston.
Okay. I'm not sure I agree, but go ahead.
It makes me sad because I obviously love Rachel Green. And Friends was we love Friends. But I can't get behind her performance in this. I think most of the good scenes and most of the good storylines are the ones that don't involve her.
I've got to be careful.
Wow, I'm getting a look there.
I have to be a little bit careful here because honestly, I don't remember what happened in which episode. So,
sure, I don't.
I'm trying to avoid spoilers for the audience as well as you. But there are places where along the way, I think the character appears to have been put in situations, and this is true to some of the back seasons, where they were just completely unprepared for what was happening around them.
Mm-hmm.
They'd been thrust into a situation, and all of a sudden it's there, and they're having to deal with it. And I feel like she's done a really good job. At least that's what has come across to me in her acting. That this is the character she's portraying, and so I may, and you may see it differently, but I don't have a problem with her performance, with the one exception.
Okay.
And I think that was last season. And again, we won't even do spoilers for that. But other than that, I let's put it this way: this might be the best way to say it. For me, her acting and her character don't take me out of the story.
Okay. I think there's a bit too much gasping and oh my godding, but okay, I get where you're coming from. While we're on Jennifer's, Jennifer Garner, her show, The Last Thing He Told Me, that's coming back on the 20th of February next year. Oh my God, we're talking about 2026 shows already, Chuck. So she stars in that and executive produces it. And as I say, that's coming back in February next year. You and I were a bit taken aback when we saw this news because we didn't remember this show, which I don't know is a good sign or a bad sign. It might reflect badly on us and well on Apple TV, I think.
That's exactly the way I look at it, because I've always enjoyed Jennifer Garner as an actor, whatever's proper now. And so her being in a show would normally catch my attention. I think I remember something about this, but I don't remember ever being tempted or knowing enough about it to pull me in. And so, yeah, but I almost feel like, Charlotte, this may be a good thing from the standpoint that Apple TV is delivering so much stuff that it's difficult to keep up with all of it because it's all really good. Now I want to go back and check this out to see what it's about, to see if I want to buy into it or not.
Yeah, that was sort of my thought, that if you and I who are ostensibly professional, don't tell anyone, at following this stuff, I know, was sort of missed this one. It shows how much is going on. It's based on Laura Dave's forthcoming novel, The First Time I Saw Him, which is also interesting because Apple TV does a lot based on books. And this is a book that hasn't even come out yet. It's a forthcoming novel, so that's interesting as well. That they're doing a show based on a book people haven't even had a chance to read yet. So anyway, there we go. We've got other bits coming as well. Pluribus. Now, this is a show that's getting a lot of attention, a drama that's getting a lot of attention. You and I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but no doubt we will. It's from the creator of Breaking Bad, so big deal. It took down Apple TV went down just after it was released. There was other Apple services affected, so I don't know if we can say it was entirely down to Pluribus, but it's not great because I think there was a couple of other bits that went down. But yeah, so Pluribus, this show, which is about, I think it's about the most miserable person has to bring back down misery or something, which is quite fun. Yeah, the most miserable person on earth must save the world from happiness. I don't know why I wasn't asked to perform in this, actually. But it's not a great start when your show goes live and there are 13,000 reports on Down Detector, which is what which Bloomberg reports there were.
I'm with you. I don't know. This is one of those that it's one more I keep adding. I keep adding to my watch list. And my watch list is still full of Apple TV shows. And so, yeah, the amount of hype, though, and hype sounds like a negative term, and I don't mean it that way, just maybe the amount of attention that this show has gotten. I don't know if it's because of the director of Breaking Bad or whether it's the whole premise or whether it's just one more in Apple's long parade of genre shows that seems to get such great reaction. But, again, it's something I do want to watch. It's just getting harder and harder to try to keep up with that, along with some other shows on some other services that are that are very good. But if we want to, we can take this back to the value of Apple TV, but we probably don't need to. It's worth the money.
What's interesting is that we've seen lots. So the hype I think of on TV, on Apple TV, we sort of got all that hype around Ted Lasso, didn't we? There's been a lot of hype around Slow Horses as well, which is a great show. I don't think any of them have ever taken down Apple servers, though, and this did quite soon after the first 2 episodes were made available. As I said, other services, which were Apple Music and Arcade, also got taken down, according to the sort of reports, and the whole thing got resolved in about 90 minutes, according to Bloomberg. But you got to say, I always hate it when we have these conversations because it sounds like we're doing PR for Apple TV. But they might kind of think, oh, oops, we shouldn't really have our servers go down. But they might also be thinking, wow, our show's so popular, it might be taking down our servers. Like, they might sort of, in the back of their minds, call this a win.
Yeah. And I don't mind doing promotion for Apple TV or any product if I feel it's a good product. But to go back to the server thing, yeah, you can't help but wonder, especially with the amount of attention it was getting, and which servers are housing what, or was it just an unfortunate blip in timing? But 90 minutes. I mean,
stuff happens, right?
Yeah, and I don't know any service that is up 100% of the time. I mean, everybody wants to advertise 99.9%, so they give themselves that little wiggle room. And I don't know what 90 minutes equates to over whatever time period is usually used for those kind of things. But it's it happens. I don't know about you, but things happen here all the time. It does happen.
Just ask our friends at AWS. It happens.
Good point. Yes, or CrowdStrike. Yes, yeah. It happens.
Although I'm being facetious. You've covered Apple for a lot longer than I have. The company is not known for stuff breaking in this way. I can't think of many major outages. There's often a lot of excitement around OS updates. They can take a while if everyone does them at the same time. But beyond that, it is fairly significant for something on Apple to fall over for that length of time.
It is. And you hit exactly where I was thinking. The OS updates, there was one, I guess it's 4, 5, 6 updates ago now, where they released a new OS on this to everyone the same day that the new iPhones were shipping. That was not the best idea in the world, because there was a lot of
everything fell over.
Yeah. And so, okay, so you've learned lessons, and maybe you've learned what the capacity that you either need more capacity or that we need to figure a way to even it out without really having customers notice. And now I kind of think they've achieved that, because the updates usually come out either a little ahead or usually a little ahead of the new iPhones, so that the new iPhones are shipping with a version, and there might be a small update, but
pre-installed.
Not a big one. Yeah. So,
Again, I mean, I remember when macOS updates used to come out. I used to wait a few days for everyone to calm down and then do it.
Yep. And I still do that for macOS updates, because I want, if something went wrong, I don't want to be the one to find out. Let somebody else find out. Let them fix it. Yeah.
It just struck me as interesting that this is a company that broadly is known for being pretty reliable, and therefore a TV show knocking past, not just the TV service, but music and arcade, which I assume must all be on similar servers, otherwise it wouldn't affect it. That struck me as rather interesting, that a show was getting this much hype.
Yeah. And, I'm trying to think, in the last couple of weeks, I believe, not streaming services, but there have been some other major services that had outages or issues of differing lengths of time.
AWS.
Yeah, well, AWS, but I'm also thinking of some others that direct. I believe Microsoft had a small outage of some kind in the last week to 10 days as we record this. And so I'm not giving anybody a pass or any excuses, but I think that there has to be a dose of reality here that, things happen with the internet, so that the problem might not be Apple's or Microsoft's. It might be AWS. It might be somebody else in the middle, because AWS is not the only game in town. So, and I don't know exactly what this was. I haven't read enough about it to really know
No.
whether we pin it on Apple servers. It
No,
sounds
but
like it always had to be Apple
there's an
servers.
interesting. I think it sounds like it in this particular instance, but it's interesting. We all expect everything instantly. Oh, there's a new show out. I want to watch it straight away. Bang! It must press in Ultra HD straight away. And actually, we're all taken aback where sometimes these things don't work perfectly because stuff happens, right? Like, it's kind of funny.
Yeah, yeah. We've all become spoiled. There's no question.
Oh, totally.
It's not enough now. It's not enough for Amazon to deliver in 24 hours. Now, I can get it overnight. I should have it by 10 a.m. the next morning. And no, come on.
Yeah. Yeah. And your poor delivery guy. Yeah, all of that. It's all part of the same thing. Do you know where I write more about this, Chuck?
I think I've heard
I write
something
more about
about
this.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, in my book Streaming Wars, I do mention this kind of always on, straight away, whatever, whenever culture. So yeah, I do. It's out everywhere. It's out in the US now, Chuck. You can buy a copy, and so it's out all over the world now. Streaming Wars, and I hope people get stuck in it. It looks at streaming services in the round, including Apple TV. Although in the book it's referred to as Apple TV Plus because they changed the name just a bit after it all gone to press. So thanks very much for that, Apple people. But I hope people who listen to this show are obviously interested enough in streaming that they'll be interested in a book that looks at all of that industry. We've got one more thing at least to dig through, Chuck. Now, you and I have discussed the idea before of Apple TV having an ad tier. We saw Netflix do it. We've seen, obviously, Prime Video did it I thought Prime Video did it in a really poor way, actually, by imposing it on everyone and you had to pay to get rid of the ads, as opposed to the default is off and you can drop down in price to have ads, which I think is a quite reasonable way of doing it. You and I both run media companies based on advertising, so we have no problem with adverts per se. You just got to do it in a way that is convenient and engaging to your audience. She says, looking at lovely advertisers. Thank you so much. But Eddie Q has said in an interview with Screen International that Apple has, and I quote, no plans to launch an ad-supported streaming tier. What do you make of this?
It would make sense if they did, but there's also the perception of Apple as a premium product across the board, no matter what we're talking about. And I'm not sure they want to dilute that, especially when things are untested, especially with the streaming landscape right now as it is. There's so much turmoil going on. I feel sort of out of touch. Yeah,
someone should write a book about it.
Well, yeah, there's that. But I feel sort of out of touch because of not being able to pay as close attention as I usually do for the last week. But didn't YouTube TV lose access to Disney and a number of other things? I kind of think ESPN might have been.
There's a whole load of rows going on with YouTube TV. I can't follow it that close. I mean, I follow it, but I don't get to see it in real time because YouTube TV is not available in the UK. But that every other week, YouTube TV is having a row with another provider. And you're right that the recent one has been with Disney.
Yeah. And so, I feel like there's a consistency to Apple TV. And I know they're not dependent upon other things, they're just doing their thing. But
sure.
It seems like it would be an interesting, maybe inopportune time to add more confusion. That right now we have a premium product, we have premium shows, we have Chuck and Charlotte recommending our shows on a consistent basis. So, let's just stick with the plan right now. Which is
the key thing.
Yeah. And, then if you wanted to add Would it make sense, Charlotte, if to add an ad-supported tier for older shows or older versions of shows or older seasons of shows, and have the premium experience for just the new stuff? I don't know. I haven't thought through that a lot, but it would be an option of one kind or another, because that's sort of what I don't know if you're familiar with Pluto TV, but that's sort of what Pluto TV does. Is they have this ridiculous number of channels of old shows running constantly. I don't believe there's
TV's a whole different world.
Yeah, and so I'm glad to hear that they're not planning to do it right now. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility or even reasonableness.
I basically agree with you entirely. I think there is something quite distinct about Apple TV that they have cultivated. It's only originals, it's ad-free, it's the same wherever you are in the world. Basically, I mean, there's going to be some changes with the sports stuff, but basically that's the way it works. And I've always highlighted this because I think it's really important. And I think, and also it's really straightforward, right? You pay $12.99 a month, or you have an Apple One subscription, and you have Apple TV. You don't go, do I want the $4.99 version, the $9.99 version, the $13.99 version? It's very, very straightforward. It's very simplistic. It's very Apple. And I think if you started adding tiers, that would change. It just would. Now, we know that at a certain point, advertising helps bring in customers and generate more revenue. The average revenue per user can go up if you introduce an advertising tier. That does happen. But I think for now, Apple is playing the game quite nicely by not introducing an ad tier. The issue and the crunch point will be, so we've gone from $4.99 a month in 2019, which was obviously underpriced and just to get people in. That was obviously very, very crazy cheap. It's now $12.99 as we speak in November 2025. So in 6 years, it's gone from $4.99 to $13.99. So $12.99. So you could call it 3 times more, depending on how you want to do it. Do you know what I mean? It's about 3 times more, right? 4 to 12. That can't keep happening. There is a point where people go, I'm paying enough. And the only way to keep a reasonable price point might be introducing advertising. That is a real possibility, I think.
Yeah, but they would have to keep a premium tier. I don't think they can just say,
yeah, they could say, if you want to pay $18.99.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like they have followed the industry a little bit, and I'm not unhappy about it because everybody seems to be testing the waters. How far can we take this up? And again, we've talked about this before. To my personal way of thinking, it's about the value I get. It's not about how much I'm paying. It's about the value I get for it. And so if I'm watching a lot of Apple TV shows, I'm getting a great value. If I'm watching one, maybe not so much. Same thing with Netflix, same thing with Prime TV, same thing with all of the other services. Sure. If they've got something that I really want to watch or a lot that I want to watch, I'm getting the value I paid for. And if I'm not, then I'm wasting my money.
That's all absolutely true. But again, there is a cutoff point. There is a point where people go, this is just too much coming out every month. I don't need another subscription.
Right.
Like there is a crunch point.
Yeah.
And the way to avoid getting to that crunch point, as I say, might be introducing some advertising. And of course, Apple has interacted with some advertisers that has done that with some of the sports broadcasting.
And
Friday Night Baseball did have adverts.
Yeah. So, I mean, Apple's always running these little experiments, and I'm sure that some of it has to do with especially when the content is not completely within their control. I mean, I'm sure Friday night or the baseball, was it Friday night? I think, yeah.
They probably come to an end.
Yeah, they probably had some input into it. I would not be surprised if MLS had a little input into it. Wouldn't be surprised if F1 didn't have some input into it, because all of those are content sources outside of Apple's control. But when it comes to the
And of
programming,
course,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was just going to say, you've given 3 really good examples, and people just accept on live sport there will be adverts.
Yes. Yes.
It's a very different thing.
Interesting distinction. I hadn't thought about it exactly that way. Even though I just said it, I hadn't thought about it being live sports, but you're absolutely right. That's what we've all grown up on, no matter how old or young you are.
Yeah. And so I think that is, it's a very easy way to ease people in to having adverts on your service.
Yeah.
Well, anything else you're watching, telling us about? What else are we missing?
I don't think so. I do want to put 2 plugs in though, because again, plane flights are a great place where sometimes if you get a good seat and can open your laptop, you can get a lot of work done. I didn't get good seats, so I didn't get much work done, but I got a lot of watching done. And I was able to finish off the current season of Slow Horses, as well as something I wanted to talk about at an earlier show and we didn't get to, Invasion. And so if you're into sci-fi, Invasion, you're going to have to watch it from the beginning. Otherwise, you're going to try to pick it up in the middle, and it's not going to make a lot of sense to you. But it really was great. There's one more season coming to wrap up the story. And Slow Horses, Slow Horses is Slow Horses. It's always good. So those are my most 2 recently completed Apple TV series.
Very good. Well, any other plugs before we head off?
No.
Where can people keep up with you?
They can find me as at macvoices.com. We do a live show Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. And on all of the socials, you can find me as at Chuck Joyner. Charlotte, where can folks find you?
I'm at Charlotte A. Henry across social media. If you head over to theedition.net, that's where I send newsletters, blog, post podcasts, all about the crossover between culture, media, and sport. And as I've joked, I do have a new book out. It's called Streaming Wars. It's all about how the streaming industry has developed and how the entertainment industry has developed and where we're left now. I hope listeners to this show will find it interesting, so you can pick it up basically wherever you get books now. It's very exciting. I've seen some in real bookshops in real life, Chuck.
Wow. I guess I can think of one real bookshop within my area that I might check out. Otherwise, everything is online. So, go get it. No matter how you get it.
I've seen them in real bookshops.
Yeah, that's got to be. It
was quite a thrilling moment to see it.
I would think so.
It's good fun. Well,
I would think so. So, folks, thank you very much for watching. Charlotte, it's great to see you. We'll see you next time, and see you then.